hello, Skywalkers and Code Talkers. Welcome back to our Jet Fuel Devs, the only podcast that actually takes you high and above the clouds while keeping you grounded with the latest trends in the software development world. I'm your co host, Veronika, and I fly for food around the globe, if you don't know me yet, while studying full time software engineering. Also, recently, I have an obsession over AI and mostly with ChatGPT trends because who doesn't, right? Like, I think that's the hot thing right now. And now let's welcome my co host, Dan. Hey, Dan, how have you been and how are you doing? Tell us.
Hey Veronica, good to see you again. Good talking with you. And I've been very good, very busy. The summer travel months are always very busy in the aviation industry. Though, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a pilot for a major U.S. airline based out of Seattle, Washington. Although I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and more on that later. But I fly a 737. And when I'm not doing that, I'm coding on Xcode, working primarily in Swift and Swift UI. I'm building an app that is my current project is a aircraft fueling tracking app. I've been talking a lot about that on Twitter, but most of all, welcome everyone to episode 3. This episode is a little bit of a unique one because Veronica and I are trying video for the first time. So if you're listening on audio, that's great. And this is a podcast audio primarily, but we're also experimenting with video. And if you want to watch us on YouTube, you'll find us there. Link in the show notes, of course. But today we want to turbocharge your coding engines with a bit of AI, as Veronica mentioned, and ignite your creativity with ways to streamline your workflow using tools that we'll talk about and AI as your co-pilot. When we're working two different jobs in the airlines and then in software, managing your time is something that is very important, and managing your energy level. So, Veronica, I'm definitely excited to hear about what tips you have today on how you manage your time.
Yeah, for sure. It will be an exciting episode. And like you said, I am actually very excited that this is our first video episode. And we are actually trying to accelerate in what we are doing and potentially create a YouTube account and you guys can watch us there. Why not, right? So, from my side, like I said, I'll be talking on AI tools, on how guys you can increase your productivity level when it comes to coding, when it comes to time management, when it comes to even creating strategies, marketing strategies for your products, for your apps, iOS or Android, no matter what apps you guys are working on. So I'm pretty excited to talk on about it. And what I'm trying to preach to you guys, it's not to be scared of using AI, not to go with that mindset. AI will take my job. AI will take the job of my family and whatnot. Use it to your advantage. This is an incredible times that we are living in, and yeah, talk about it later. And I'll also share with you my time management apps that I use. Hopefully, you will benefit from it. And that's pretty much it from me. How about you, Dan?
Well, from the aviation side of things, as I mentioned, I'm a pilot for a major U.S. airline, and I fly 737. And we go through recurrent training once a year. And what is recurrent training? Well, it's where we go back into the simulator and practice emergency procedures, checklists, and things that have come up in the previous year that our training department will put together a training program that addresses issues that have come up over the previous year. Maybe they've seen, what they call procedural drift, people not following procedures, and so they kind of retrain us and refocus us on the safety aspects of the aircraft and the airline operation in general. So I finished 3 days of training last week. That was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week, and the training. Day one is pure training. It's just they know that you haven't been in the simulator for a whole year, and so they want to get you kind of back up to speed. We don't read well, hopefully we don't have to read through checklists and emergency procedures on a regular basis. Although this past year, I've seen a lot of medical situations with passengers. I don't know if you've seen the same.
We always had them. We always I never saw a decrease actually. No, at some point I saw, but yeah, we always have them.
Yeah, it seems like over the last year and a half, there's been an increase in. Actually, I had my first diversion. We were
Yeah.
going from JFK to Seattle, and we diverted into I think it was Madison, Wisconsin, because a passenger on board was having a stroke. So I hope he was okay. But anyway, so that normally doesn't
Oh my
happen. So. Um, but we have to be trained for it when it does happen, as you well know. So day one in the simulator is a lot of practice on getting kind of back up to speed with engine failures, electrical problems, missed approaches in the aircraft, and just purely training. If you don't do it right, that's okay. They reset the simulator, reposition you, and you do it again. And then day two is they do door drills. We'll go to a mock cabin, and we practice opening the aircraft doors, practice putting on the what do you call it, the life vest, um, and all the little things that you think you'll never have to do, but just in case you do, you actually do get trained on it. And these doors are, they're different airplanes, different
Do
type of
you
door.
guys also do firefighting procedures?
We do that in initial training. With recurrent
Oh,
training, we haven't. I'm trying to think if we have in years past. I don't think so. But in initial training on the aircraft, they have us operate the fire extinguisher. Yes. Do you?
yeah, we do that also every year, the firefighting, and we have like an actual firefighting simulator.
Yeah.
So we go there and we practice, and it's kind of fun, but like fun in a not like fun if it happens in real life, right?
No, it's
Not
actually
fun
one of my
at
biggest.
all.
No, it's one of my biggest fears is an in-flight fire. That's the worst. I think that's the
Oh,
worst case
yes, it's
scenario.
the worst. It's one of the worst. Yes, yes, yes. Because we are considering, smoke in the cabin. Well, how about like smoke in the cabin is considered as a catastrophic situation, but imagine fire in the cabin. Then
Right.
okay. I mean, of course you can extinguish it, but in the same time, it's like what's going on and why is happening.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. That's one of my biggest fears. But no, we didn't do that this year, and maybe next year. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a suggestion in for some more firefighting. I don't know. But so that was day one, and then day two is more of the door drills, and then they check us on the maneuvers and the emergency procedures that we did on day one. So that we trained on day one. Now day two is testing. So you should have your skills, refined from day one. And if you're not executing a missed approach or a single engine missed approach or an engine failure on takeoff, if you're not executing those things correctly, you have a little bit of time to retrain. But they expect you to be up to speed and doing these maneuvers properly by day two. And then day three is a scenario based situation where there's no repositioning of the simulator, there's no resetting. They give you it's the intention is that it's a real time flight. So you'll start at the gate at whatever airport the scenario is. And in our case, it happened to be Anchorage, Alaska this year, of course, because I fly for Alaska. But so we started there. Everything runs in real time. We execute everything just like we would on a normal flight. And then you take off, and something is going to happen, and you don't really know what. They give you kind of a like a pre-study guide that you might know a little bit of what scenarios you may be facing, but you don't really know what's coming. And
Yeah,
so you have to work as a crew, and that's the whole point of day three. Is they really just want to see you working as a crew, even if you maybe read the wrong checklist. That's not a real good example, but you may get yourself off track a little bit. But they want to see the both pilots working together to
as
solve
a team, as a team.
as
Yeah.
a team. Yes, and that's the thing, and that's something that people will ask me about. If we kind of maybe dovetail this a little bit into AI, is people will ask me about pilotless airplanes, right? Airplanes with no pilots. And I say, I probably will expect to see Amazon or one of the cargo carriers do this first, where you have basically just a drone airplane flying with no pilots. Uh,
How do you feel personally about this idea, like in general,
Sure.
the
I
idea?
actually, yeah, I feel actually okay about it. Probably because I don't think it's going to happen during my career. I'm 45, so I have a maximum of 20 more years. I could be wrong, but I
20
think that
years is a lot then. 20, a lot can happen in 20 years.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, and we'll see. Now we have this on. We have a recording here of what my predictions are. But I don't think my job will be affected by a
Oh,
pilotless airplane in my career. But from a safety standpoint, which is all this training is, everything is focused around safety. From a
right.
safety standpoint, I would rather see no pilot in the airplane than one pilot. And this is kind of the discussion that people will have. Because if there's, well, let me go back with the two of us, right? If you and I are flying
Yeah,
and I make a mistake, or I think that there's some situation that requires some certain action, and you say, well, what about this? Right. Oh, and that's something that I hadn't thought of. Right. Or if I'm operating at 90%, maybe I'm a little tired. I'm not 100% that day. And maybe you're a little tired. You're not 100% that day.
yeah,
We're both at 90%. Well, the combination of us, the two of us, is 100%. Right.
exactly.
And so if you make a mistake or I make a mistake, I catch it or you catch it, and that's why there's two pilots in the aircraft. And with flight attendants, I'm sure it's the same thing. Not one flight attendant can handle everybody all the time, so you have to work together. And so
Absolutely.
for this reason, I would feel that having one pilot in the flight deck, if a situation arises where that pilot had to execute some emergency procedure, but they were wrong and no one is there to correct them or to say, hey, what about this? Or did you notice this?
Right,
Then I think the potential for a catastrophic mistake is higher than if we have a fully automated aircraft that is being monitored from the ground. Obviously, there's some monitor. I'm making this up right now, but I like that idea better. It may sound a little strange, but I think one pilot in the flight deck is still human, and we still make mistakes. And if you get the automation to a level that's high enough to fully automate the flight with ground monitoring, I think that's actually a safe scenario. So, um, but
I completely agree with you. And honestly, I have to admit that I feel like I feel not safer, but okay, let's say safer
Mhm.
when we actually do auto landing.
Oh, really?
You know,
Okay.
in bad weather conditions, that's the only time when auto land is actually allowed in our airline.
Hmm.
This is what I heard from our pilots. So the approach is way stable, the final approach way more stable. The landing, the touchdown is amazing, and I'm like, this feels great, you know.
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I'm like, actually they should do that more often, not only when the weather is foggy and they can't really see anything. That's the only, because, but with auto for sure, with auto landing, I don't know, you guys do it in a bad
yep. We do.
weather
Yep.
conditions, right?
Hmm.
So with auto landing, basically, they can't do it all the time because it's so sensitive. Like, it can anytime it can reject the landing,
Right.
and it can go around because some car passes like close by, or because of the wind, what they call this one, the wind
Yeah. The wind
detectors.
limitations.
Yeah, yeah, so this is what they told me, and I'm like, okay, that's why they can't really do it all the time, because of this, because when you guys are flying manually, when you land manually, you go straight away, not like you're not distracted from like, let's say, this kind of sensitive radars.
Right.
But
Yeah. They
yeah,
have to
so
protect the what's called the ILS critical area, and so there's the beam that's coming from the ground. They have to keep airplanes further back from the runway if the aircraft on final approach is doing an auto land. And so
Yes.
when Yep. So for that reason, it's not always practical. We do practice them, and our airplane, the 737, and with the airline, they actually require tests at intervals. I think it's 30-day intervals that the auto land needs to show a successful auto land. So even if it's good weather, our maintenance personnel will put out memos on our flight that says 30-day auto land requested, and so we'll do a
Ah,
practice auto land, which is it's just a little bit more setup with the automation, and then a lot of monitoring. And this, I don't know if this is getting off track, but it's something that I tell people about with self-driving cars. In the
okay.
airplane, we have a fully automated airplane that, as you said, can land itself. It can't taxi off the runway, but it will land itself and bring itself to a stop on the runway. But we are still pilots. There are still flight controls in the aircraft. And if you have a self-driving car, you're still the driver. There's still a steering wheel. You are still responsible for the car. And I
Yes.
see these things on Twitter and against, talking about how Tesla in particular, the full self-driving isn't ready. And okay, it's not ready. It's also called beta. And also, you have a steering wheel, you're the driver. And the example I like to use is if the airplane I'm flying is on autopilot and I fly it into a mountainside, it's my fault. Because it's on autopilot doesn't mean you can just read a
Chill.
newspaper and
Chill
chill.
around. And, yeah.
Yeah, you're monitoring. We monitor the hell out of the airplane when it's on autopilot, especially on approach like that. I mean, especially my job as a first officer,
Of course.
I'm locked on the instruments, looking for any variation and any warning that something isn't right, and then we go around. So
Yes.
it's just
It
it,
requires a lot of attention. It requires still a lot of attention, and it doesn't mean that if it if you're doing auto landing, you can just like you're having your cup of coffee and you
right.
relax.
No, absolutely, and it's actually a fairly intensive operation. Like we are very, very closely monitoring the airplane at that time. Exactly.
Of course. At the
So
end of the day, you're there for that reason to monitor and to keep us safe.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and as are you, monitoring the passengers and the condition of the cabin. So yeah, we
Yeah,
all have to
yeah.
work together. But
Actually, a very serious job. Both professions are very serious. And every time I go back to the college and when I do that recurrent training,
mhm,
I'm really reminded this is actually very serious. Like this is no joke, and
yeah,
everything that we study, everything that we are reminded of, like on that training, is just like okay, we cannot just mess these things up.
no, no, and you have multiple. How many aircraft do you fly?
I fly on
Does
two
your airline
types of
have?
aircraft, 777 and A380, Boeing 777 and A380.
Okay,
This is
okay,
the only aircraft that we actually have on our fleet. And
okay,
yeah, for 8 years, I've been working on just those two.
okay, okay,
Before, we used to have A330 and A340s,
okay.
but then we retired all of them. And now we are hoping to see, but in a couple of years, I don't know when exactly, because they're always been postponing that delivery of 777X. Have you heard
Oh yeah.
about that?
Yes. Yep. Yep. I
Yes.
actually just saw it not too long ago in Seattle. It's got the fold up wings.
Oh, really?
If I'm thinking of the right airplane, the wingtips fold in on the ground. Um, uh, I'm pretty sure that's
Yes.
the airplane. I could be
Yeah.
wrong though, but um, yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure.
crazy.
Did they release it yet? I mean,
Well,
they already
they
delivered.
were. It's Boeing flight testing it, and they happened to land in Seattle when I was there, and so we
Wow,
saw it.
you're lucky to see that.
Right.
Oh my God,
Right.
this is amazing. Our pilots are very excited about this particular airplane
Hmm.
exactly because of the wings.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny to see on the ground because it just like they just whoop, they go up. So
Really?
it was
Wow,
kind of
that's
cool.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, now I
Let's
have
see.
to
And
research that a little bit more, but yeah, I don't know when it's going to be released, and I'll probably never fly it, but you never know. Never say never.
you never know, then you never
Yes.
know. You might.
Yeah. Yeah.
20 more years to go. So,
That's true. That's true. So,
yeah.
anyway, so I want to get back to so AI and what are you? How do you incorporate in your workflow? What tips do you have? What prompts do you like to use? Like, where can you take us with ChatGPT in particular, Veronica?
Yes, so let's talk about that. So ChatGPT has been helping me for, I'm gonna tell you now, half a year now with my university studies. Like I said, I study full time software engineering, and then out of nowhere, ChatGPT came on board, and I'm like, that's interesting. Speaking of chatbots, I was really expecting Google to come up first with their chatbot because I think ChatGPT was released in October or November, something like that, last year. And Google sent us an email because I registered to be on the testing, I don't know, list for their chatbot, for the Lambda chatbot. They were actually working for years on it, AI chatbot. So they called it like Test Kitchen. I don't know if you heard of Test Kitchen,
I don't think so.
something like that. So Google sent us an email, guys. You can go ahead and try our chatbot. I never actually did because it was only available for the US testers, like people that are based in the US. So when I saw that email, I was like, oh my God, they finally will release that chatbot. I never tested it, but and also I never heard anyone on Twitter or any social media actually talking about it. Like I never heard anyone who tested it. So anyway, they've been postponing the release of their Lambda chatbot. Google been postponing the release, and then OpenAI was like, you know what? Let's just we're gonna release our chatbot. And what happened? Google, nothing. Google then they were like, are you guys serious? So yeah, I was actually fascinated. I don't know, what do you think about ChatGPT in general then? Are you
So I've
what is
used it. I just used it yesterday trying to solve a problem while I was on my flight, on my commute flight, I should say, from Seattle back to Minneapolis. And I've
yeah,
been using it when I can't figure out something. Here's a block of code. I'm having this. I'm having a problem, and what is wrong with my block of code? And in yesterday's example, and I'll just get right into it. I was having I'm having an off by one error, an index out of range error, and usually when I code that something like that in and I end up producing some kind of an index out of range error, I'll see this, it'll crash or whatever happens, and then I'll go back like, oh, okay, I can see why I'm producing this off by one error. But in this
right.
case, it's I can't figure it out. I don't know why. I'm just selecting from a Swift UI picker a value, and then I'm saying, give me the item in an array at this value that I've selected. And for some reason, I'm getting an off by one error, and it's weird because I can't figure it out. And so now on the airplane, it's kind of challenging because I don't really have full internet access without
Yeah,
paying for it. I can get free internet on my phone through T-Mobile, thankfully. So I have the Chat GPT app, and what I did was I copied the code from my laptop, and then I airdropped it to my phone, and then I plugged it into the ChatGPT app on my phone. This is me yesterday working in the middle seat, right? And I plugged in that code, and I said, I'm getting it off by one error, and ChatGPT gave me an answer that explains the off by one error. Like, I understand what the problem is, but I don't know why I'm getting it. So I wasn't able to solve the problem yesterday,
with
but
chat.
right, but admittedly, my workflow wasn't great, and I'm just working on my phone, and I probably could
Yeah,
have, had my prompt better, or just, had better input to see what, to better explain the
yeah,
answer. But I wanted to try because in this case, I'm still not figuring it out. I'll figure it out, but
And you wanted to try since I'm promoting it so hard.
yeah, yeah, no, it's where I use it the most. I'd say is not how do I do something, but why is this not working? And I
Why
have
is this?
had good success with that in the
To
past.
explain it to you, yeah, when you're working, when you want to solve a coding problem with ChatGPT, there are two ways. Like, first is what happened to you yesterday. Like, it explains you why it happened. It doesn't give you the exact solution. It just explains you this and that might be the problem. But if you want to get like to the solution of the and to the core of the your issue, whatever you coding issue you're having, you just have to keep on asking questions. Like, and plus straight away, don't be like, honestly, sometimes you have to be straightforward with ChatGPT exactly what you're looking for. Like, and don't be like polite to ChatGPT, because just like tell ChatGPT exactly what you want. Like, I want you to write me a code that will actually fix my problem, like a chunk of code that will actually work with what I want to build. I want this and that. Like, this is the way to go. Sometimes, because in the beginning this was my kind of mistake, that what I've done, I was like, oh, but can you do that? And like, not asking straight away what exactly I'm looking for. And so now I want to just give some examples to the people who are actually interested in prompt engineering, and how to actually prompt chat gpt to get the best results. So first, I want to just start with a quote that I saw on Twitter recently, and it's really, I think it makes total sense, and it's true. ChatGPT for $20 is like owning a private jet for the price of a bicycle. And it's true. I'm actually a ChatGPT Plus user, and I'm so satisfied. I'm getting so much value out of it, because the experience is completely different when you're using the basic, like the unpaid plan, and the paid plan. So what is the difference, you ask? First of all, it's way faster. It never locks you out. Like, it used to lock me out all the time when I was not using the paid version. uh, Third, and one of the most important, you can use ChatGPT 4. You can also use their APIs, and it's just, yeah, for me personally, completely worth it. And if you guys are, like, let's say, even if you're a software developer slash engineer, I believe it really can help you a lot if you go for the plus version, for the $20 a month version. And I believe they will reduce the price shortly, because like every product, you know how it works. Once it's released, it's crazy expensive. Every new product, it's in the beginning is expensive, then they gradually reduce the price. So I believe this will be kind of the future with the chat gpt plus. um, yeah. So what I want to share with you guys: product strategy to get out, like to get the best results from chat gpt. For whoever I think is building iOS applications or any kind of product software, you can actually build your product and marketing strategy with chat gpt. And here I have an example of how to prompt it the right way. So, Dan, I think for you, this will be also useful for your apps on the iOS store, as you shared with us the last time that you actually want to get better with your marketing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So the what I researched, and I actually put it on ChatGPT here in my on my browser. So how can you get the best outcome of your prompts? Well, when it comes to product strategy and marketing strategy, let's say you ask ChatGPT, create the marketing strategy for my podcasts, like for our podcast, right? I have, and then you ask Chat, you tell ChatGPT exactly how much is your budget for that marketing strategy. I put like, I have, for example, let's say $500 marketing budget and need to reach how many, tell ChatGPT how many people you're looking to reach. So I need to reach 10,000 people with that $500. Then build a table with the ROI, which is return of investment, expectations by the channel. Here is a breakdown of each channel. So, social media ads, it tells you where you can get the most reach from which social media platform. It splits the costs. Like for example, influencer marketing, you get 150 for influencer marketing. So you reach out to famous influencers or on Twitter, on threads, on threads, and so they can promote your product or our podcast in our case. So podcast directories, I like Apple Podcast, Spotify's, like you cost, it says $50 to reach 1,000 people, so we can promote on that kind of platforms, email marketing, collaborations, like it gives you everything. So like I said, just make sure you know very well exactly what you want from ChatGPT to get the best results out of it. Then how to prompt ChatGPT. My other point is that I want to explain how to prompt ChatGPT if you want to understand new and complex topics, or if you have
Okay.
like a complex coding problem, or if you, for example, you wanted Dan to learn core data, right? So how
Not anymore.
how to
Now it's Swift data. Yeah.
now you switch to Swift data, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So, for example, let's say Swift data. How to prompt ChatGPT to explain you in the best way. Say here, I have break. For example, first way of prompting ChatGPT: break the topic down into simple components, and then ask me if I understand after each step. So it will kind of give you small tests. It will test you to see to
Oh.
what degree you understood the topic.
Okay,
No.
okay. So wait, I have a question. So I could say, let's go back to core data, because core
Okay.
data is something that I've worked with for years and never fully understood it.
Okay.
It's something that I have used it, and all my apps use core data. But now with Swift data coming out, it makes a lot more sense to me, but I'm still learning it. But with core data, there's a lot of little nuances in getting it set up. So I could ask ChatGPT, okay, I want to learn core data and I want to have core data save these types of properties, let's say. Um, how do I do that? Or do I say, teach me how to do that and then ask me if I
Exactly.
understand? Is that
You
right?
go straight away with what you want. Like in the end of the day, please bear in mind this is not an actual living being. So you don't care how you actually
Sure.
talk to it. There is no like politeness there. You just want, you are there to get the value. Like you have to be selfish. You forget this is
Okay.
not someone behind that computer. It's not alive. It's nothing. So people were like, I saw, and I was actually in the beginning when I started using ChatGPT, I was like, shall I say thank you in the end? Like when when it gives me, the right answer or what I actually want, shall I say thank you? No, forget about thank you, forget about hi, how are you? Like, so you go, you say, teach me, or like teach me. I don't really think you should go with that exact wording, but you can go for, let me just bring up my, yes, you can just go right away. For example, about core data, let's say, break down, like I said, break down the topic into simple components. Like break down, what exactly did you say you would like to know about it?
Well, let's say I want to save I want to save a person profile. So I want name, age, and maybe the city they live in, right?
Okay.
As a simple
To
example.
save it like in a data spreadsheet, like something like that, or
Sure. Yeah, and then something that I can retrieve multiple people. So I'd have Dan, Minneapolis, Veronica, Dubai, age, and maybe favorite coffee or something. So it would just be, and then later I could pick from my list of people that has been persisted on the device in core data. That would be that would be a scenario that
Yes, you go straight
would use.
away. I want to learn how to do, how to make, how to, I want to learn this, and that. So, and then explain, if you want ChatGPT to explain it to you in a simple way, like in a humanly way, because sometimes ChatGPT is too technical and you don't even know what it means, what the hell is talking about. So you can say explain in simple term, like the specific topic that you want, explain it, or you can say explain it to me like I'm 11 years old. So this is in a completely simple way. It explains you and it gives you very, very good examples, like you really are 11 years old. So for me this really works a lot. Like, or explain it to me like I'm 10, explain it to me like I'm 18, depends on what level your knowledge is. So I really find this prompting helpful for me, and it really explained to me a lot of stuff in a very simple way. So this is basically how I prompt ChatGPT to explain complex topics in simple terms and simple way, in humanly way also. So this is how I use it, and I hope this will help you. Then just let me know after that. Give me a feedback, and I have actually a lot more prompts that I want to share with you guys. But now we don't really have that much time, so I'm just gonna stick to these two. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me just
I
so
have
now just hope.
a,
Yeah,
a quick
yeah.
question about it. So let's say, so with the scenario that we had, explain to me how to set up core data for this scenario. How long would you expect, and you can totally just guess, or what do you think? How long do you
Okay.
think that I should spend with ChatGPT on this? I mean, it's going to, 30 minutes, an hour, 20, 15 minutes. What do you think, like, to get a reasonable understanding of how to actually then go to Xcode or whatever IDE and start coding it in? Like, how long would you expect to work with ChatGPT learning
You can
time?
start coding even after the first prompt, after the first result. You can start coding straight away because, like I said, still depends on w- what what way did you use to prompt it. Like the way, in my opinion, now I'm gonna give another like same example with your issue yesterday, and you said that it didn't actually give you the answer straight away, like it only explained you some stuff like how to do it. Was it the
Right.
is it right?
It was, yeah, it was explaining what the problem was. I already knew what the problem was,
Yeah,
but it wasn't. I don't think I gave it enough information to see why an off by one error was
also what I'm
happening.
gonna advise you, try to did you actually put your code in there, like did you copy pasted your code?
Just a little bit. I mean, it was only the for each view of my array, and then the picker value that was being selected. And so it was only a little bit because, again, I was copying from my laptop, airdropping to my
Yeah,
phone because that's the only thing that had internet. So again, my workflow wasn't great, but it was worth a shot.
yeah, exactly, I see. So like I said, if you really prompted straight away, like core data, I want to do this and that, I want to have how to extract the information from my users. Let's say when I
Yeah.
register in your app or something, when I give you my email, my name and address, you want exactly what you want
Mhm.
is to extract my data, right? So yeah, you go
Yeah.
straight away how to extract data from my users, and you explain as well that you what app you're working on, and try to explain it in detail, because that's what actually ChatGPT wants.
Okay.
It wants details. Doesn't, like, if you ask like in a generic
Right.
kind of way, you will not get the result that you want. You will not. So try to
Right.
put even your code, try to give them to feed them with all the information that you have, And even with GPT-3, even if you work with GPT-3, not with the paid version, you still get a good result. GPT-3, honestly, and actually GPT 3.5, it's great as well, and it
Mhm.
works fast. It was way faster than GPT-4, but yeah, it will still give you a good result. This is and on your
Right.
question, how long you should spend, like I said, it can give you the right answer and the answer that you want after the first prompt, or you just go with the flow. You just follow the flow and just keep on asking following questions, and you will get to the truth very
Sure.
easily. Don't forget the chat gpt works with the whole web data. So I honestly think that it's great too that it will help you with anything you want. Sometimes it's even my psychologist. I use it for psychology. So yeah, so
Oh,
it's great.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
been great. So yeah, any other questions, just ask me, and
Yes.
I'm here for you.
Well, I just have a question about your time management
Yes.
skills or tools. That's something I'm definitely curious about.
Yes. So for the people who wants to know more about, like I'm back to Chat GPT, I just want to insert this. There are a lot, a lot of good Chrome extensions, Chat GPT Chrome extensions, which I really recommend. Two of them are the Monica.im. Monica.im is completely integrated with GPT, I think 3.5 API. So you can install this into your Chrome browser, because I know most of the people they use Chrome. Although we were talking about Brave browser, I am not really familiar about extensions for Brave browser, because mostly I'm on Chrome. So you can guys install monica.im. You can use it as a chat GPT extension into your browser. It works very good. It's great. And then there is chat GPT for Google, which is like a third party. It's not an OpenAI extension, and still works good. So these are my two suggestions, and this can really increase your productivity, because you have just ChatGPT handy on your browser. It's you can use it on any kind of web page, so it's great. Another management app, which actually tracks how much time I spent on each task. So for example, you I because like I said, I'm studying at the moment, and once I start studying, I switch on my Toggle app. I don't know, guys, if you know it, but I highly suggest it, because it's a great app to track how many, like for example, how much time you spent on let's say on my module, my web development module, or on my let's say side projects. And I really want to keep track on that. And it spells TOGGL, so you can just install it on your laptop. And that's pretty much it for now. I have a lot more, but really, we are running out of time at this moment.
Yeah, we're getting a little close, but we still have time, and there's other things that I did want to talk about for just
Exactly.
a minute. But so Toggle is a time management and like a time tracker app.
Exactly. And then,
All right, you just click start.
yes, so once you install it, and once you start working on whatever you want to work on, you switch it on, and then it starts like a timer. It's very simple app, actually. It's very simple app. It's the timer starts, and once you're done with your task, you stop it. So the cool thing is that you can name each and every task. For example, for me, web development, and each and every task is like, there you have like project section, and you have like your web development task over there, and it just like it says how many hours until now you worked on your web development project. And for me so far it shows like 16 hours, so it's been it's been a lot. I'm like, oh my god. And then once I had 40 hours on one of my university modules, I'm like, oh, that's good. But it's good to know, it's good to keep track on this stuff. For example, how many hours you work on your fuel app, let's say. So you can easily I really like that app, and I really suggest it. If I have to rate what thing, which app or what trick kind of boost my productivity the most, of course I'll have to put ChatGPT in the first place.
Back to the time management, I do you find that timing, hitting a timer and saying start, I'm working on my my module for school or web development or whatever, like do you find that that increases your focus?
True, that's correct. I completely agree, and because you know that you've been timed, and you want to
Right.
like really get straight to what you have to do. And another time,
Yeah.
another actually now as we speak, I just remembered another way of increasing productivity, and we actually spoke about it before with you, is going to co-working spaces. And actually I find being way more
Yes.
productive working from a co-working space rather than at home. I don't know, I just at home there are a lot of distractions. You're always like, oh, let me just grab something from the fridge, let me just go grab something from like get a coffee or something. There is always something going on, I don't know. And yeah,
Right.
so speaking of that, it kind gives you like you, and you told me actually that you feel the same way, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so imagine people, now I see why Elon actually wants to return people to the office
Well,
because it's really like kind of makes sense now, right?
I think I've never actually worked in a traditional software development office environment. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm a pilot. We don't have our offices moving,
exactly.
but having, I think maybe I don't know. I mean, I think there's benefits and disadvantages, advantages and disadvantages to both. I think for myself and maybe your personality, my personality, if I'm in a space where other people are working, then I'm more productive.
Same.
And like you say, at home, I'm in my office right now, and I can. What's sort of funny. This is kind of weird, I know, but I somehow I discovered that if I light a candle and the smell of the candle in the room means that I'm working. I don't know how that happened. My wife bought me a candle one time, and I sat down to work and I lit the candle and I got a bunch of work done. And so now I just have this weird psychological thing that's like,
This
oh,
is
I'm serious
interesting.
now. It's time to light a candle. I'm going to get some work done. And just that weird little act somehow just trips something in my brain. But I was just in San Francisco for work this past week, and I was there. I had most of the day. I got into San Francisco from Austin. We flew into San Francisco, and I was in the hotel at 9 in the morning, and I had the whole rest of the day there, which was great. But it was Fourth of July, and so a lot of places were closed. But one of the first things I did, because I had most of the day, was I looked for a co-working space, in particular WeWork, but they were closed because of the holiday in the States. So, but I was going to go because I know that I get so much work done there because I'm in a work environment. Other people are working. I can move around, and I can go get a cup of coffee or a sparkling water, and I love those co-working spaces. But um,
And can you tell us briefly how that WeWork co-working space works? Like, what's the payment methods? Like, how do you get there? Like, how's the environment?
oh,
Like, why do you like it?
right.
Just
Oh
briefly.
yeah. So what happened? Well, so of course there's an app, and you sign up on the app, and you can go big and rent like an actual office from WeWork and have that dedicated space in your city that you live. But then if you do that, then you get access to all the WeWorks, I think, for free. But I'm not on that plan. I just do the I'll call it the a la carte plan, where I'm in San Diego now. I'm in San Francisco now. I would like to just have access to the co-working
Yeah.
space for the day, and what you're doing is you're just renting access to the space, not a
Okay.
particular cubicle. But the price seems to change because it was showing $50 a day in San Francisco, but I've rented them in the past for $30 in San Diego, and then
Oh,
Minneapolis as well. So it
like
seems
it's for the whole day. You can use it like the whole
eight
day.
to five, 8 to 5, Monday to
Oh,
Friday.
great!
Yep.
This is amazing.
And so what you do is you just go in. It's wide open, and there's tables. There's there's corner chairs and desks, and they're just open, and you're in kind of the open public environment. But it's a great environment. I've never
Do
rented.
you think it's a good place to network with people?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I've never talked to people there, but you could, and because I'm working and I have headphones on and everything. But if you wanted to
Yes, yes,
meet people to work, like if you and I were working on a project and we happened to be in the same city, that would be a perfect place to meet because it's designed for
great.
working, and it's not like a library. You don't have to be quiet. It's designed for people working, getting work done. Um,
Exactly,
so
exactly. Yeah, and they have coffee and stuff, all this stuff.
yes, yep, everything. There's microwaves. You can bring your own food. Of course, people get DoorDash.
Coffee is crucial
Yes,
factor.
yes, yeah. But I do love those environments. But if I'm not in that environment, and I don't do it often, but if I have a good amount
Yeah,
of time in the city and being on an overnight, it just gets me out of the hotel. The hotel can
exactly.
sometimes just like you feel like you're not really
And
there.
change is always good, change is always good, and you never know who you might meet. Mostly in San Francisco, you never know who's working there. You might meet some interesting people and even like collaborate with them to some point. Like you never know. Have you visited the one in San Francisco?
I haven't. I was hoping to, but again, they were all closed that
Maybe
day.
next time. Maybe next time.
Yeah, hopefully next time. Hopefully next time. But Um, well, Veronica, it was fantastic talking with you once again. I love hearing about ChatGPT and productivity, and again, working that into my workflow. One app I want to quickly mention that helps my productivity is an app that I've been using for a while called Linear, and it's a task kind of management app where I can put in my tasks that I'm working on with ProFueler, my fueling app, and what I have to work on, because otherwise I feel like I just have to start over every time. And so working with some sort of a task tracker app, and I can have that. I light my candle and I can get some work done. And incorporating ChatGPT to teach me how to do whatever I want it to teach me to do is a great thing. But anyway,
It's
that's a
great.
wrap for today. Thank you, everybody, for listening and joining in to Jet Fuel Devs. Uh, please reach out to us on Instagram, Jet Fuel Devs on Instagram, Veronica on Twitter. Who are you on Twitter, Veronica?
Decode Veronica.
And I am O'Leary Dan, and you can find us both there and on Instagram, and now on YouTube. And one more thing, by the time you hear this episode, we have a website,
Yeah.
jetfueldevs.com.
Yes, guys, we're
So,
working on our website, and we are actually very, very exciting to share it with you and to once we release it. And yeah, well, Dan, where do you think we will release the website? Update us.
jetfueldevs.com, of course.
Yes, soon, coming soon. Stay tuned,
Soon.
guys. Stay tuned, and yeah, bye for now, and see you later.
All right. Bye bye.